Hey everybody, welcome to Board Game Heaven. My name is Raymond, and in this video I'm taking a look at Surfosaurus MAX by Aquan Quan, published by Loosey Goosey Games. This is a kind of a poker game, cooperatively making poker combinations for 2 to 6 players, which plays in about 20 minutes for ages 10 and up. And before I start explaining the rules and share my thoughts on the game, I'd like to ask you to please hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed already. That really helps the channel. And please also check out my Patreon page if you'd like to support what I do by clicking the link in the description below, and that'll take you to my Patreon page. And people can support me for as little as just €1 per month or more, and that's greatly appreciated. And as a supporter, you get early access to all of my videos, access to Patreon exclusive content, your name in the credits, and you also save up for the Board Game Heaven enamel pin. And with that out of the way, let's set up a game. To set up a game of Surfosaurus MAX, you shuffle all 84 Surfosaurus cards, which are all of these with the dinosaurs, the surfing dinosaurs on them. And then depending on the number of players that are playing, we remove a number of cards randomly without looking from the deck. In a 2-player game, you remove 24 cards. In a 3-player game, you remove 12 cards. In a 4-player game, you don't remove any cards. In a 5-player game, you remove 4 cards. And in a 6-player game, you don't remove any cards either. Then you deal 7 hand cards to each player, and the remaining Surfosaurus cards are the draw pile. Every player picks one of these surfboard cards, and also every player takes 1 full coconut and 1 half coconut card, and these are used to keep track of your score. The most experienced paleontologist or surfer is the starting player, or just randomly decide and give that player the Surfosaurus MAX, and you can place that on the surfboard. And then you're ready to play. Let's explain the rules. Surfosaurus MAX is played in clockwise order, starting of course with the starting player. And the idea of the game is to play cards from your hand to the table in your own area. Everybody keeps their own cards, but you're collectively trying to make a poker hand. So it's sort of like a cooperative game of poker, but everybody scores their own cards, of course. And those combinations are explained on these handy reference cards. There's 4 of these for 3 and 4 player reference. And there's a 5 to 6 player reference card. There's 6 of those. So every player gets 1. And there's 2 of these 2-player reference cards as well. And there's a couple of differences, because in a 2 or 3-player game, every player plays 3 cards. So you play 3 rounds where everybody plays 1 card and then draws 1 card back up again. And in a 4 to 6-player game, you only play 2 cards each. So that's 2 rounds of playing 1 card. And as you can see here on the reference card, and also on the 2-player reference card, 2, 3, or 4 players make combinations of 4 cards maximum. And in a 5 to 6-player game, you look at combinations of 5 cards. But only the best combination scores. So if you contributed to a combination and you look at the combinations that were made, you decide which ones were the best combination, you score your cards, the ones that you contributed to that set. And as you can see, all of these cards, they have different suits. There are 7 different suits, colors, and the numbers range from 1 to 12. And they all have a value. So here the whole coconut means that this card is worth 8 points if you score it fully. And if you only score half of it, that's of course 4 points. And the lower the value of the card, the more points you get for it. So the 11 and the 12, for example, have the lowest points. So there's 2 whole points or 1 half point. And these reference cards also have the setup and the round order explained on these cards. So I'll just leave this here. So let's play around to illustrate how that works. Now, looking at my hand, I've got plenty of cards here, but I have 2 5s, and I might want to try to go for 4 of a kind. So I'm gonna play my first 5 in front of myself on the table. So then it's the second player's turn. They see a 5. They think, hey, I have 2 5s. I could try and take advantage of that. So I am also going to play a 5. The third player also has a 5, and he's thinking, yep, these are great odds. So I'm going to play another 5. And of course, don't forget to draw back up to your full hand of 7 cards. So this one is for the second player, and this one is for the third player right there. So now the fourth player sees what's happening here, and they don't have any 5s. Otherwise, they could have contributed and scored a point as well. So right now, they're thinking, well, it's probably gonna be 5 or 4 of a kind. So the only thing that can beat that is, if I don't have a 5, is to have a straight flush. So that's a straight in the same color. And they've got, well, they got a number of 9s even. That's pretty good to have. They have an 11 and 12 of different colors, so not much going on there. So they might want to just try and get rid of a card that's not going to score too much, and then they draw back up again. So right now I'm thinking, excellent, we've got 3 5s. I'm going to play another 5, because right now, if this was the end, we would have a 4 of a kind. I would score 2 cards. This player would score a card, this player would score a card, and they'll have 8 points, 8 points, and I'd have 16 points. So now this player has another 5, but playing that would be useless because they already contributed 1, and the maximum is 4 cards. And what would happen if you play more cards than the needed 4 of a kind, in this case, in a 2 to 4 player game, then all cards that contributed that are equal would get half points. So that would mean if they played another 5, they would have 2 cards that only scored half. I would have 2 cards that scored half. They would score half, and they would of course have nothing. So basically they would have 8 points, I would have 8 points, and this player would have 4 points. So if they wanted this player to not have 8 but 4 points, they could play that. But right now they already have 8 points, and playing another one wouldn't change anything. They had 2 times 4 points. So they might want to keep that because they have 3 yellow cards, and that might be better in a later turn. So whenever there are multiple options or more cards contributing to a combination, you always look at the highest value. So that means that in a straight flush like this, if this example says 5, 6, 7, 8, if somebody else would have played an orange 9, then it would be 6, 7, 8, 9, and the 5 would not score. In this case, like we saw, if there is more than 4, then they all score half points. If in this case there are, well, in this case you can't have 2 5s because it's the same color, but in this case here, in the sequence, if there were 2 players who contributed an 8, then both 8s would score half points, and then the 9, 10, 11 would score full points. Here, again, in the same color, you just look at the highest values. So if somebody here, this is 1, 8, 9, 12, somebody would play a 5, for example, then the 1 would not score. And if none of those are happening, you simply look at the highest values for cards. And again, if there's 2 cards of a similar value, so if there were 2 12s, then it would be 9, 10, 12, 12, and the 12 would score half points. So let's just say this player just wants to get rid of this card. I needed to draw back up to 7 again, and so does this player. Maybe this player wants to get rid of the red 1 here, and this player just, I don't know, wants to get rid of another high card because of the low value on it. So since this is a 4-player game, we all played 2 cards, so now this round ends. We look at the result of all the combined cards and we see what the highest combination is, and like we saw, that's the 4 of a kind of the 5. So these cards that did not contribute simply get discarded to the discard pile. I score 2 cards for full points, so I put these cards and put them underneath my coconut, my full coconut, not under the half one. This player also has a coconut card, puts that card underneath. Same for this player, and this player scores nothing. So then after that first round, the first player token moves to the second player. You keep the cards that you have so you don't discard between rounds. And the game ends once everybody has been the starting player, and depending on the number of players in a 2-player game, you have to have been the starting player 3 times. In a 3 or 4-player game, everybody has been the starting player 2 times, and in a 5 to 6-player game, every player only takes the first player once. And when the drawing pile runs out of cards, you simply continue playing with your hand of cards until you're done. Now there is an additional rule for a 2-player game. So in a 2-player game, you reveal one random Surfosaurus card from the draw pile after you have each played your first card. So that's kind of like a dummy player. And you repeat this after you have each played your second card, but not after the third. And at the end of a round, you treat those 2 additional cards played by the dummy player as if they had been played by a third player when you look for the strongest possible combination. And after the round, remove both random cards from the game, independent of whether they contributed or not, because the dummy player does not score. And then, of course, at the end of the game, you take all of the cards from your full coconut and you add up the full scoring points. And if you have any cards underneath your half coconut, you only count up the half point scores, add up all of those scores, and the player with the highest total wins the game. And in case of a tie, the tied player who has scored the most cards in total wins the game. And if that's still a tie, then those players share the victory. And those are all the rules for Surfosaurus MAX. Let's go to my final thoughts. So my final thoughts on Surfosaurus MAX by Andreas Price, who was kind enough to give me a copy to review. Thank you so much for that. Let's start with the components. Well, you get a whole bunch of cards. They're very smooth cards. They are of a really good quality, nice and thick, very sturdy looking cards with very colorful prints on them. So these are all very good. Most of the game is just cards, but I do really like this awesome Surfosaurus meeple that is your starting player marker. And I love the fact that all these cards are surfboards. They serve no purpose other than just to put your Surfosaurus meeple on. It just looks really cool. Otherwise, you also get these cards, these reference cards, enough for every player in a 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6-player game. So that is super handy. You've got the reference for all of these combinations that you can make on it, and a turn overview. One side is English, one side is German in my copy. So all you need is one of those cards, and you know exactly how to play. The artwork is, like many Loosey Goosey games, very bright, very colorful, and very funny. You've got all of these hilarious dinosaurs on surfboards, you know, surfing, and they have these cool symbols as well for all the suits. Everything is very Hawaiian, very beach-like. You've got the sun and a wave and a ukulele, turtles, palm trees, pineapples, and flowers. And they're all on the back of the cards as well. Very nice, very colorful. I love the artwork. The themes, of course, once again, very Loosey Goosey, of course. Lots of these games from Loosey Goosey have just picked a theme that is tongue-in-cheek, that's funny, but doesn't really matter that much for the gameplay. But this makes for a very colorful game, of course, with a bit of humor, but otherwise doesn't really add to the gameplay itself. But the gameplay is really good. It's cooperative poker. You're playing cards, you're either playing 2 or 3 rounds depending on the number of players, so that's the number of cards you play. You play 1 card every turn, and then you check to see what's on the table and what is the winning combination, and whether you contributed to that combination determines if you score points with those cards that you played, because everybody keeps their own cards and you're constantly looking, okay, what is my best option here? Do I have a couple of cards that I can already make a combination with, and hopefully the rest of the players will complete that combination, going for the highest value, the best combination? Or, you know, I don't know, maybe I'm just hoping that somebody else will play something that I can benefit from, And sometimes it will happen that there is a combination on the table between two players perhaps, but the other players are making a stronger combination, so those players don't score at all. And that is also a lot of fun. It's just a really clever game. I've never seen poker being played, well, semi-cooperatively, because you're contributing to a combination, but you still score your own points. And if multiple players contributed the same card and it still scores, you simply get half points. So that's why you have the half and the full coconut card to store those cards under, so at the end of the game you know, well, these cards scored half points and these cards scored full points. And then you simply just look at the cards and how much their value was. Depending on the height of their value, of their number on the cards, you score a number of points. So that's all very well done and very simple, and it's quick and easy to teach, easy to learn, and all the rules are on a single leaflet, even with some examples. So this is the setup, this is the components. The rules start here on this little section. This is what one round is, and this is the combinations explained just like on your card, and a couple of examples, and then scoring, and that's it. It couldn't be simpler. So it's a very, very quick game. And because of that, I think the replayability is pretty good. You can play a number of games, a number of matches in one evening. It's fun as a filler game. Takes about 20 minutes roughly. If this is your first time playing, you're probably going to be thinking things over a bit too much. You might play a half an hour, also depending on the number of players. But once you've played this one time, you quickly pick it up and it'll go a lot faster. And finally, the language dependency. Well, this game is fully language independent. You do, of course, have the reference cards, in this case, English and German, but the symbols and the icons, the cards, are pretty clear. So this is very much a language independent game, because otherwise you just have the cards with the different values, different numbers, different suits, and that's all you really need to know. So this scores really well for me. I'm giving this 2 thumbs up, because I think this is a really, really fun, unique kind of game. I've never, like I said, seen a game like this before, and it's very clever, very new, and I really like what Loosey Goosey published here by Ikwan Kwan. Excellent game, definitely recommended. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please also give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and please also check out my Patreon page by clicking the link in the description below or the icon at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Board Game Heaven.